Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So today's video, I'm very excited because I hinted about this in a recent video. I think it was the contour wands, and I actually received them in PR, which was a surprise to me. But I have all 6 of the brand new Charlotte Tilbury palettes. So let's see, I have, yeah, there's 6 of them. So I have all 6. They were sent to me in PR. Very, very grateful. It was a surprise, and I'm very excited to go over them today. So today's video is going to be a little different because I'm not going to do like a try on. I'm going to do swatches, and I'm going to talk about the formula, what I know about the formula, you know, a lot of the controversy as far as the clear plastic, my thoughts on it, all of that. And then I'm going to do a couple swatch comparisons with, you know, the Beautyverse palettes, the other larger 9 pans, and then talk about comparison to the quads, more comparisons, and about like the quality of the palette and etc. And then what my plan is to do 3 separate videos covering 2 palettes each. So, and then doing a look on each eye, because I can do 1 look, maybe 2, but I'm only going to be able to do 2 palettes. So I really want to get into the nitty gritty of the palettes, the swatches, the formulas, why they have a clear cover, which there is a reason, and the formulas breakdown, and then also kind of do some initial comparisons. But then when I go into the other videos, I will do some more like in-depth swatch comparisons, especially with like the pink one. You know, how does it compare to the Pillow Talk and the Pillow Talk Dreams quads, etc. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm going to be breaking it down and kind of going over the palette. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. These are they're called the Charlotte's Palette of Beautifying Eye Trends. There's going to be 6 of, or there's 6 of them, and they say they're limited edition, which was a surprise to me. So they say they're limited edition. However, you know, with these larger palettes, the 2 Beautyverse, that was like last Christmas and this Christmas, these were limited edition. They're still available. So, you know, limited edition is until they sell out, right? So it could be they're like Fire Rose, where it disappears pretty quickly, or it could be they're available in 2 years. With Charlotte Tilbury, you kind of never really know. So it's one of those things, if you want it, get it, you know, etc. But let's talk about first the actual packaging. So it comes like this. It comes in, you know, each has the clear top, which we'll talk about, but then this is the packaging. So the packaging has like a clear plastic packaging as well. Obviously I have already swatched these, so they've already, you know, they've been swatched, so they're not new. But and then the actual packaging is, you know, the clear plastic. And I know that a lot of people have been saying like, oh, it looks like ColourPop, it looks like drugstore. My understanding is that they went like this with the idea of a, for makeup artists. And I have a bunch of friends that are makeup artists, and I reached out to them and I said, you know, what do you prefer? And they're like, absolutely, we prefer, you know, clear tops. Because if you have, like, let's say these 6 palettes, you know, if they're all the same, and I will show you, don't have it on this one. I have my Pillow Talk Dreams. All of my quads, the ones that I have that have this cover, with the exception of this one, because this one is more recent, I have labels. I had to put labels on them because I didn't want to have to look on the back each time, because this, you know, it's writing small, etc. So I have labels on all of them, just like I do with my McGrath. So the fact that these are clear, very, very easy to kind of look and say, okay, yes, like, okay, that's the one, obviously blue, the green, the pink, etc. So that's the idea behind it. And if you look at, think of like Dior Backstage. So the Dior Backstage, now I've never had a Dior Backstage eyeshadow palette. I've never really been interested in them, but they are $52. These are $60. So these are a little bit more expensive. But you know, some of them, and I would say some of them I think are, you know, worth it, and some of them may be kind of more generic. So we'll talk about that in a second. But this is actually my favorite one. The green one, which is Emerald Effect, is by far my favorite one. At least initially from first impressions. So let's talk about the clear packaging. So the clear, now somebody was saying like, it's plastic. they're all plastic. Like, this is plastic. It's just that it's not clear plastic. It's kind of luxe plastic, right? It's still plastic. As far as the thickness of it, it's pretty much the same thickness as far as this. However, this one you have a mirror. I never use the mirror, so I know a lot of people are upset that there's no mirror. I never use this mirror. Like, maybe when I travel, if I use a mirror, it's usually like in a compact, but not in a quad. I will use my little Baby Yoda mirror, or I will use, you know, I have a mirror like this on my vanity. Obviously I have a big vanity where I use a big mirror, but I don't really use this mirror. So I'm not gonna miss it, to be honest. I'm not gonna miss it. And to me, I would rather have the clear packaging where I don't have to do labels, because then I don't have to, like, I think this looks really pretty. You know, you have the Charlotte. This is the gold on here is not, it doesn't feel like it's going to rub off. You know, so it feels like it's inside the plastic, if that makes sense. So, you know, I've had that with my LYS, like mini blushes. The LYS on the older ones is completely gone. This feels like it's not, it feels like it's inside the plastic, which I think also is a little bit of more of a luxe. I could be wrong, but I don't feel it there, if that makes sense. So the packaging, personally, I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna miss the mirror. I like that it's lightweight. I like that it's clear. You know, personal preference. Now, if you are one that loves luxe and wants a mirror and you need a mirror, then don't get them. You know, that's all I can say. But I don't think it takes away from them. But even on their website, it talks about the clear packaging is inspired by makeup artists. Okay, so here's the description on their website. It says, each easy-to-use palette gives you everything you need to experiment with color and trends with confidence. These palettes are designed to be seen. The sleek, transparent lid is inspired by the way pro artists and I need visibility when working backstage on runways and red carpets. Just choose your color world and find your perfect shade instantly. The easy to apply, easy to blend, and easy to layer shades do the work for you. Each of my limited edition eyeshadow palettes feature 5 super flattering finishes designed to enhance the look of your eyes. The highly pigmented shadows are in new hypnotizing textures for a multi-dimensional finish. They are matte silk, crystal pop, diamond dimension, molten satin, and crystal chrome. So first of all, the formulas are new. There are, let's see, 5 new formulas. Not every palette has all 5 formulas. There's a couple of them that have all 5 formulas, and then there's some that don't have all of them. So I'm going to get into the breakdown when I go over each palette, but they all are all new formulas. I will say the matte formula specifically, and actually the formulas of all of them, they're more similar to the Beautyverse palette. So this is last year's, which is, I love this palette. It's more similar to this one than they are the quads. The mattes are called matte silk, and in this palette they're called future mattes. They seem a little bit silkier in here, but they're really silky. They are not like the mattes in the quads, to be honest. I think I like them better personally. I love the quads, but since I've gotten these and I tend to reach for a Charlotte Tilbury palette, I don't really reach for this one as often, like, or my quads. The only one I tend to reach for is like Fire Rose, and that's like on special occasions. And I never travel with it. But other than that, like, the mattes in this one is gorgeous. So they are very similar to that. So they're matte silk, crystal pop, diamond dimension, molten satin, and crystal chrome. So those are the 5 new formulas. So we're gonna go over each of the palettes first. So we have Super Neutral, and Super Neutral is the neutral palette that's also like the cool tone palette. And it is described as a neutral eyeshadow palette with molten metallic brown and celestial cool gray tones. Now the Supernatural palette has 6 matte silks, 2 diamond dimension, 1 crystal chrome. So this one, which I think is a beautiful palette, only has 6 of the formulas, and then 6 of them are mattes. So if you are looking for a good matte cool toned palette, this is going to be great. However, if you don't want a lot of mattes and you want a lot of sparkle, but you like cool tones, then maybe you don't want to get this one, because a lot of them, like I said, there's 6 mattes in this palette. So, and the difference between, well, I'll get into the difference between the formulas in a second, but I think this one is gorgeous. And all the pictures that I did in natural sunlight, and those are, you know, the swatches I did in natural sunlight. So just so you know, going forward, it's a beautiful palette. I think it's gorgeous. I think I'm really going to like this one. I've played around with them because I've had them for a little bit and I've played around with them, but I was under embargo where I couldn't post the video. So I think it's absolutely beautiful. But again, this one has 6 mattes, and then it only has the 2 diamond dimensions. So the diamond dimensions are these 2 right here, and then the crystal chrome in the middle. So that's the crystal chrome here. So again, I think the super neutral is beautiful, but not as many of the formulas. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we have Sensual Sunset, and it is described as a brown eyeshadow palette with shades of bronze, copper, and terracotta. This one has 5 silk matte or matte silks, 1 crystal pop, 1 diamond dimension, 1 molten satin, and 1 crystal chrome. So this one has all 5 of the new formulas. However, it has 5 silk mattes, or matte silks is what it's called. So it has 5 mattes and then 4 shades of like sparkle. This is like, I love this. Like, if you watch my channel at all, or you're new to my channel, I love warm tones. I love this. When I was looking at them, like in the promo pictures, this is the one I obviously gravitate towards. However, there are 5 mattes. So the mattes are, I think, a good mixture. You've got like a, you know, a brown and a like a terracotta. So you have some mixtures in the colors of the mattes, but there are 5 of them. Okay, and then looking at the swatches, the second shade is the crystal chrome. And then you have the 5th shade is the molten satin, which is basically just a satin, like it's just typical. The 3rd to last shade, or the 7th shade, is the diamond dimension. That is kind of like a party topper or eyeshadow topper. And then the last shade is the crystal pop. So there you have like the different formulas. So the diamond dimension formula is like the party topper. And it's a little bit sheer. Then you have the molten satin is just like a shiny satin, like, right, it's just a satin, that's typical. But then you also have the crystal chrome is going to be a little bit more opaque. It's a little bit thicker. So the crystal pop is kind of like the crystal chrome and diamond dimension had a baby. That's kind of how it goes between those 3 shades. But you know, this one has all 5 formulas, and again, so you can see, you know, go back and look and you can see the different formulas. Again, I'm going to try and do different videos that are going to break them down, but I did want to kind of explain the different formulas and which palette have which formula. Okay, and moving on, we're gonna go over to Pink Love. So Pink Love is described as a pink eyeshadow palette with shades of mauve, rose, and candy pink. And this one has 4 mattes, 2 crystal pops, 1 diamond dimension, and 2 molten satins. So this one has 4 of the formulas in this palette. So it's missing the crystal chrome. So the crystal chrome is the dark or the deeper one, but it does have the satin. So I kind of think that kind of takes its place. But now I will say, in comparing, and I'll be doing comparisons later in a separate video, this is much more pink than Pillow Talk. I'll compare it really quick. I do have Pillow Talk Dreams here. Pillow Talk Dreams is a little bit deeper and a little bit more warm. This is definitely more pink. So, and then the Pillow Talk is definitely lighter, but this one, it's also more kind of warm or neutral, where this is definitely more kind of like true like candy pink. So and then comparing it to the Pillow Talk let's see, the Pillow Talk Beautyverse palette from this year, it's also very different. Not really much comparison. This one is much lighter. This one is much deeper. Obviously you can see the size comparisons here. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you can see here it's definitely pinker. This one's more warmer, deeper. This one is just like, it's more, I won't say bubblegum pink, but it's definitely more of that traditional pink, whereas that you really haven't gotten in Charlotte Tilbury palettes before. Okay, and looking at the swatches of the Pink Love palette. So the first shade is the Molten Satin. The second shade is the Diamond Dimension. And then you have a Matte Silk. The fourth shade is the Crystal Pop. Fifth and sixth and seventh are all matte silks. The eighth is a Molten Satin, and the 9 is the Crystal Pop. So those are kind of the different swatches, and that's where you get the different formulas. They don't have names, they just have on the back, you can see here, I don't know if you can see it, but on the back it will say the number and then the formula of it, but there's no names on each of the palettes. Okay, next up is Digital Lilac, and I think Digital Lilac was inspired by this shade, which was in the Beautyverse palette, the one from last year, because there is a shade called Digital Lilac, that's the shade. However, there's not the same. So I did do like kind of swatch comparisons, and none of them are the same shade. So this is Digital Lilac, and Digital Lilac is described as a purple eyeshadow palette with shades of lavender, lilac, and sugar plum. So it's definitely not a deep purple eyeshadow palette. It's definitely more of a lighter purple, which I like. Like for me, this is what I like. I like this type of purple much more than the Roxa palette. So this is, again, Digital Lilac, and this one has 4 mattes, 1 Crystal Pop, 1 Diamond Dimension, and 3 Molten Satin. So this one also doesn't have the Crystal Chrome shade. Okay, so looking at the swatches in Natural Sunlight, so here they are from left to right. So the first, the 4th, 5th, and 6th shades are all the Molten Satins. There's 3 Molten Satins, that's the 4th, 5th, and 6th shade. Then you have the 2nd, 7th, 8th, and 9th shade are the matte silk. So those are the silk shades, or the matte shades. And then the first shade is the Diamond Dimension shade. That's like the crystal, the party topper. And then the 3rd shade is the Crystal Pop. That's the one that's got a little bit more opacity to it, but it's still kind of, you know, a very light, you know, very nice and shiny shade. So those are the swatches for Digital Lilac. So again, you're not getting the Crystal Chrome in the Digital Lilac palette. Okay, the next one is going to be Emerald Effect. This is the one that in swatches and when, like just playing around with it, this is my favorite. And I'm not a green eyeshadow person, but I really like this one because this one's got, and I kind of thought I was gonna really like it from the pictures, but this is Emerald Effect, and Emerald Effect is described as a green eyeshadow palette with shades of mint, emerald, and olive. And you see that at the bottom here, really, really pretty. Now this one has 2 matte silks, so only 2 mattes, 2 Crystal Pops, 2 Diamond Dimensions, 2 Molten Satins, and 1 Crystal Chrome. So this one has a good mixture of all 5. So it's basically got 2 of each, and then 1 of the Crystal Chrome, which is the I guess the thickest or the most opacity of the really shiny shades, of the glittery type shades. So anyway, so here we go. That is again Emerald Effect. And then looking at the swatches here in Natural Sunlight, you're gonna see here the first shade is the Diamond Dimension shade. The second is the Matte Silk. The third is the Molten Satin, and the 4th shade is the Molten Satin. So those are the 2, 3rd and 4th are the 2 satin shades. Then the 5th one in the middle is the Crystal Chrome. That's that really pretty olive green. The other Matte Silk is that deep number 6 shade. It's that deep brown. So you have basically 2 browns for the 2 matte shades. And then the bottom shades, the 7th and 8th shade, are the Crystal Pops. Those are, you know, a little bit of more opacity. And then the last one is the Diamond Dimension shade. That's that mint shade. I love that shade. So I really, really love the variety of this one. I think you've got, you know, you've got the 2 brown shades, right? 2 brown shades for the matte shades. And then you've got like all these different shades to kind of create different looks. I think, to me, this is the best one of all of them. I'll talk about all of them in a second, but this to me is probably going to be my favorite. And I think this one is probably the most unique because you've got all 5 new formulas and you've got the most variety within the formulas in this palette. And then finally we have Denim Dimension. This is the blue palette. I'm not a blue palette person, so I think I have one blue palette, which is like from Glamlight, and I've used it once. But this one I feel like is a wearable blue, if that makes sense. I'm really curious to play around with this. I did play around with this, you know, pretty good, a little bit, and it's actually really nice. I'm not a blue eyeshadow person, but I feel like it's a wearable blue, if that makes sense. So this is Denim Dimension, and this is described as a blue eyeshadow palette with shades of slate, cobalt, and midnight blue. And it has 3 matte silks, 1 crystal pop, 1 diamond dimension, 3 molten satins, and 1 crystal chrome. So again, you have all 5 different formulas. So you have 3 mattes, 3 satins, and then 1 each of the glittery type shades. So you have like the deeper one, the chrome, the crystal pop, and the diamond dimension. So you have all 5 shades. So looking at the swatches in Natural Sunlight again, the first 2 shades are molten satins, and the 3rd shade is the diamond dimension. That's like kind of that party topper. And then the 3 in the middle are the 3 matte silks. So those are the 3 matte silks. You kind of have like 3 different varieties of blue. And on the bottom row, which is the 7th, 8th, and 9th shade, you have the crystal chrome, the 7th shade. The 8th shade is the crystal pop. And then the 9th shade is the molten satin, which is that really pretty blue as well. So I really like the variety of this one as well. I'm not a big blue eyeshadow person. I think this will probably be the least popular. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't feel like Charlotte Tilbury's clientele really goes for blue eyeshadow, but I could be wrong. But I feel like this is a wearable blue, and it's something that I would, if I wanted to do a blue eyeshadow, I could go into this and feel like I could use it. But of the 6, this will probably be my least used. Okay, so now that we've talked about each of the palettes and broken them down as far as formula, etc., let me talk about the size. So we have, let's look at the Beautyverse. So this is last year's Beautyverse. It's a large palette. These are the same size as the face palettes that have like 4. I love that, but you know, it's a pretty large palette. So, you know, you're not going to get through this unless you have like, this is like your only palette. You're not going to get through this pretty, you know, long time. So here is the size difference. So you can kind of see, so the squares are definitely smaller. I don't weight the gram because it's hard to kind of say as far as like grams because formula is way different. So, but just look at the pan size. I mean, they're considerably smaller. This one was 75, this year's was 69, and then this is obviously 60. So this one, you have like the luxe packaging, which a lot of people like, and the mirror. So, and you're getting a lot more product as far as per shade, but you're still getting 9 shades. So, you know, it depends on you. Personally, I'm probably never going to get through this, so I'm fine with having less product just because I have a lot. But if you're someone that only has like a couple palettes, then maybe just go ahead and just get this one. It's still available. So just keep that in mind. As far as these two palettes, there really isn't, the only shade that is kind of similar to any of the palettes is this one right here, and this was in the neutral palette, I think. This is the shade, and it's a matte. Everything else, there's really like the pinks are different. Everything is really different. So I tried to do swatch comparisons. I'll get more into detail in the other videos, but just keep that in mind that there's really not many duplicates, and especially with like the special like sparkly shades, there's really no difference. So that's that one. Then you have the quads. So here's the quad, here's Pillow Talk Dreams, like I mentioned earlier, and you have this one. So again, the size is about the same. These are rectangle, so maybe it's a little bit bigger, but you know, this one has, you know, it's actually not that much bigger. Even though you're getting like 5 more shades, it's not that much bigger. between these two. So I do like that. This one has a little bit more of wasted space here, which is fine. Like for this little quad is fine, but I do like the 9 pans. So just kind of keep that in mind as far as size. Now these are $55. So these are quads that are $55. This is $60. So yeah, in comparison to this is more of a better value because you're getting more product and more, product per shade, but you're still getting 9 shades. This one for $5 more, you're getting, 5 or 4 different, 4 to 5 different extra shades. I had to do the math. 5 extra shades and pretty much about the same amount of product for $5 more. And honestly, I like the formula, especially with the mattes. The matte formula, I definitely prefer the matte formula in these. Not that I don't like the matte formula in the quads, I do, but I prefer the matte quality in these, in this one from what I can tell so far. So that is the comparisons between the two different sizes of Charlotte Tilbury. Now let's look at some other 9 pans. So first up, these 9 pans, I just got this. I haven't even swatched this. So I just got this. This is the one from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So this is the 9 pan, very, very similar and very, very similar in size. So you can kind of see here, pretty much you're going to get the same amount of product per size of this. This one is made in USA. The Charlotte Tilbury is made in Italy. I forgot to mention that. The Charlotte Tilbury is made in Italy. All her eyeshadow formulas have been made in Italy. So made in Italy, made in USA, $60, $29. Now, I personally haven't used these, you can tell, but I've heard these are fabulous. That is why I purchased them. I'm not planning on doing a review on them, but I purchased them because everybody was raving about them and I really liked, the size. So that is the comparison between the Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's like the sugar, the spice, and there's like 2 other ones that she has. Next up, we have the one from Huda Beauty. So we have the nude, medium nude obsessions. So again, first of all, plastic, plastic, and both have the mirrors. So you have that. They're a little bit heavier weight. And this one has the clear plastic, obviously. But as far as the pan size, it's pretty much the same. So the pan size is pretty much the same. You can see here. Now, this one is made in China, made in Italy. Made in China, made in Italy, $32, $60. I stopped buying, I like these, but I stopped buying them because I noticed that the formula in the larger ones was much better quality than the ones in the Obsessions. And, if I wanted a Huda Beauty palette, I was going for my larger palette. So I stopped buying these. I still have a bunch. I'm probably going to declutter them. But again, maybe you don't care. But these are $32, $60. So again, and it also could be just the color story. And then finally we have NARS. So NARS is a little bit bigger as far as like the packaging. Again, plastic, but has a mirror, thick plastic, so it is heavier in weight. You can definitely feel it. These definitely feel lighter because, not because the plastic's light, but because there's no mirror. The mirror really reduces the weight. So here you can kind of compare side by side again. So this one is, you're gonna get a little bit more product per shade. So a little bit more. Now these are $49, $60, $49, $60, and these are made in Canada. So probably getting a little bit more product. Now I really like the NARS formula, but the NARS formula, I will say, doesn't have, you kind of get the matte and like the satin, but you're not going to get like that really shimmery, like the crystal pop or the crystal chromes or even the diamond dimension that you have in these palettes. So I love the NARS formula. I think it's like, I've talked about it. It's very like elegant. You still get like a pop of shimmer, but it's very like great for mature skin. But you're not going to get those pops of like really shimmery shades that you are going to get in the Charlotte Tilbury. So this one is probably, I would say, the most comparable. I haven't used the ABH, so I really can't compare yet. I will try and do some swatch comparisons when I get into the nitty gritty with each shade. But I think this is probably the most comparable as far as formula, but you got more variety of formulas within the Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, so that is the breakdown of these brand new Charlotte Tilbury palettes. These are, again, the Charlotte's palette of Beautifying Eye Trends. I hate her names. They're always so long. Okay, so you know, again, gonna break down and do some individual videos coming up. By the time this video goes up, they will be live on the website. So at least on the Charlotte Tilbury website, I think they go live on Sephora like on February 13th. But when this video goes up, they will be live on the Charlotte Tilbury website. There will be an affiliate link below. You can save 15% by using my promo code. And my promo code, I have to look at it, is Shannon Ford, FAJ5R. And that will save you 15% off of charlottetilbury.com. But then you can also buy these on, I believe on Sephora, and I believe they will eventually be available on Ulta, but I don't know when. But I think that they're available on Sephora February 13th. I like them. This is first impression, and swatching them and playing with them. I've had them for a little bit. They are really, really nice. I really like them. But I also, if you're new to my channel and you've never watched me before, I love Charlotte Tilbury. I love everything Charlotte Tilbury. So I was very excited to see these. I do like the clear packaging. You know, for me, it's more, I am at the age, I'm 48. I'm at the age, I like function rather than like making me feel luxe. I will choose functionality over something feeling luxe any day of the week, but not everybody's like that. So if you don't like that it's clear and you feel it like looks cheap, then don't get it. $60 a piece, not cheap. Not cheap. Even with 15% off, that's going to save you $9, $51, still not cheap. They are limited edition. They could be, go on sale. Maybe they won't. Usually Charlotte Tilbury usually has a big sale around Memorial. So if you wanted to wait, you're probably going to have to wait like 3 months. She has like, Memorial, obviously Black Friday, summer sale, but more Memorial is, I think, the next like big sale that she tends to have. And a lot of times she will have sales where it's not like 35-40% off. It's like you buy two, you buy two and then you get a discount. So, keep that in mind if you are like, maybe you're interested in them, but you want to buy them at a cheaper price. Then, if there's one that you really want, like if you really want the green one, I think the green one would probably, the green to me is the one that's probably the most likely to sell out. Honestly, that's just me. Then I would say buy that one because I think that one is the most likely to sell out. But if you're like, I like it, but I don't like it at $60, then wait. Wait for a sale and see if it's still around when you're ready, then buy it. I think they're worth it. But again, I was planning on buying them because I was planning on reviewing them. I probably wasn't going to buy the blue one, and I think I wasn't going to buy probably the purple one. I think I was going to buy 4. I'm glad I got them, and I'm glad I'm going to be able to try them, but I was planning on purchasing them, but I wasn't planning on buying all 6. So I do think they're worth the price, but everybody's different, and it's up to you. It's up to you, so I'm going to leave it at that. Stay tuned for more videos, and if you like this video, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.